Welcome to the Cosmic Couple.
Welcome, everyone.
This week, we're going to talk about another article, and we're going to get down to business.
Yes.
It is an article from businessinsider.com.
You know, they know a lot about relationships.
Yep. It is a big go-to when you want to find out if you're a good match. I guess having a good relationship is good for business if you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
So the title is 4 Wedding Red Flags That Are Telltale Signs a Couple Won't Last, according to a dating coach. I feel like they could have made a little more succinct title on that, but that is it. So red flags at a wedding. And this kind of correlates to our timeline, talking here on the podcast.
For those listeners that are listening to our podcast chronologically, we are almost at our wedding.
Yes, we'll have an episode on that because we had a lot of fun planning it. We've also been to a number of weddings. Let's see what our dating coach here says. You can often tell whether a couple will last based on their wedding. Anwar White, who has more than 580,000 TikTok followers, outlined 4 red flags at weddings. One of the biggest red flags that a couple won't work out involves wedding cake. For some, it's tradition for the bride and groom to rub cake on each other's faces. White says paying attention to how the couple approaches the act of rubbing cake is key. If it's loving, if it's more of a caress, that's one thing. But if the cake rubbing is more forceful, it indicates that the groom may harbor deep-seated aggression and is comfortable humiliating a partner. All right, there's a lot of reading into the cake sharing there. What are your thoughts?
Well, initially, you spend all this money for your outfit for that day. Women sometimes spend money, a lot of money, to have their makeup done for that day.
Sure.
And so if a groom is aggressively spreading a cake all over your face, that might be unfixable. It seems mean-spirited to me.
I mean, I get practical jokes and all that, but the wedding day doesn't seem like the place for it.
Not respectful.
No, it isn't. And it comes down to that. It's not
and even
respectful.
If it was done to the groom or to the person that is not wearing makeup, maybe they can just go wash their face. You still have on your best clothes for that day.
Right. I don't know where that tradition came from. It just seems like a very childish elementary playground kind of attempt to get
other people are saying, smash it in their face.
Yeah. Or they're just like, wow, this is kind of a very intimate moment being shared. I'm really uncomfortable with this. I'm going to break it with some humor, some very
probably
childish humor. Yeah.
Childish humor.
Yeah. Pulling pigtails or calling somebody, a name, saying they have cooties or something, because I might get caught being vulnerable and someone's going to know that I like this person.
Yeah, you're marrying them.
Right.
Number 2, when one of you is unwilling to share the spotlight. It says, when I see someone pulling focus to themselves, that lets me know that we're trying to make this event about them and not about the union. Examples, he says, include if the bride or groom puts on a skit that involves dancing or singing, or if there's a comedic interlude or show-off moment when walking down the aisle or during the reception. White also says he pays attention to whether the bride or groom refers to the wedding as my day instead of our day.
It's hard to tell. Well, are they showing off, or is it
a gift?
A gift
for the other person.
Right. I guess it depends. Are they singing to the other person? Is the song special to the other person? Or if they're facing the crowd and this is like, I've always wanted to have pretend I was Beyonce or I was Taylor Swift, and and they're kind of hamming it up to the cameras. I've seen that version too. So I think it depends on how it plays out. It's okay to
Yeah.
showcase a talent and share that, but as long as it's not about, I mean, you know the difference between, oh, that person is just look at me, or, oh wow, that's really sweet that they sang that song that the other person really likes.
Or is the dance or skit about the bride or the groom?
Yeah,
Is it incorporate the wedding
right.
and the love for the other person?
Yeah,
Or is it just like, I always wanted, like you said, I always want to do be like Beyonce or something. Some of the most successful marriages White has seen have started with an elopement or a more casual celebration. By contrast, he says some of the least successful couples hosted elaborate weddings, which can come across more like spectacles than authentic celebrations of love. A lot of brides really try to make the wedding as big as possible. And that is often a telltale sign that the bride is more focused on the wedding than they are on the marriage, White said.
Mm.
Women have been told their whole lives that their wedding day is the most important day of their life.
Ever, like when you were little, like, oh, I wonder what my wedding's going to look like, or what my wedding, I'm going to have this, or I would never do that, or as you grew up, any thoughts like that? Or
I think the only time I thought about my wedding was when Princess Diana got married.
yeah,
And I remember sitting with my mom and my family, like watching it and thinking
Okay.
like, wow, this is really intense. And,
Right.
and I remember thinking like, oh, I'll definitely have more flowers.
Here you go. Show Princess Di how it's done. Yeah, I think, even the term fairy tale wedding, it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. But for some women, this is what they have been told and have thought themselves, like, this is what is going to bring meaning to my life.
Right. Yeah, like somehow it's the most important thing in sealing a successful marriage, or that it's the pinnacle of your life is this moment. Like you said, the kind of gender stereotypes growing up of, women pretend to play house and be mothers to little baby dolls and talk about weddings and, oh, beautiful dresses and this and that. And it really builds up to a lot of pressure.
And not everyone wants to wear a beautiful dress on their wedding day.
Right.
And I think for us, also as artists, we asked ourselves, like, well, this is what has been done before, but is this what we want?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's harder for young couples or young women who are just sort of forced into this stereotype.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get for them to even figure out, like, what is it that I want in this situation?
Right.
Because there are so many people's opinions that are coming in on what your wedding day should be like.
It's important to take moments, take a breath together and look around and smile at each other and think, this is our wedding day.
Right.
How cool is this? All right, let's see now. Mr. White here says the fourth red flag is if family members' speeches don't refer to both partners, it's a sign they don't like or don't know who their loved one is marrying.
Well, that
seems
that's a little harsh in some ways, because families are spread out all the time. It's very common for people to live in different states and even different countries.
Right.
And so when you get everyone together from different times of your life in family from different regions, they might not have had the opportunity to spend with the bride or the groom, depending on what side of the family that you're on.
Yeah.
the point is that you're going to toast the bride and groom. Maybe you're the bride's side and you're talking about from when she was a little girl. That's when they knew her
Right.
the most. They were the closest to her when she was younger.
Yeah.
But at least at the end to say, but here's, to a wonderful future for the bride and the groom.
Yep.
Is that what he's saying? Is that at least at the minimum they have to do that?
I'll read on here because I believe he does. People giving wedding speeches will devote most of their remarks to the person in the couple they know best, White says. But somewhere in the speech, he says, there should be at least a mention of the other person.
Okay.
Yeah. If the speech giver is solely focused on their person, he says it could mean one of two things. One, they don't like the person. They're going by the old mantra of, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. Or two, they don't know the other person enough. What you want to see is positive things being said about the other person and how they represent themselves in your person's life. So,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah, I'd agree.
But yeah, we will have an episode coming up talking about our wedding. And it was a lot of fun planning it.
It was small enough that we could get around and visit everybody.
Yeah.
And still feel like we had time to dance with each other and have a meal.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Appreciate all you listeners out there. Please remember to hit the subscribe and follow us. Like the podcast. If you leave a review on whatever platform you listen on, that would be wonderful for the podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
Of course, yeah, we would love to hear from you as well. So until next time, bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Christmas